I was brought up, you can be anything you set your mind to. I was basically living the American dream. And then I became homeless. I got arrested. At this time, I had no income. I was having a hard time eating, and then I had to come up with these fees for private probation. The only way they make money is if somebody's caught up in the system on probation, and I just got caught in this trap.
In 1991, Georgia became one of the first states in the country to pass a law authorizing private companies to take over probation services. This led to the proliferation of private probation throughout the country. Private probation companies frequently collect debts owed to municipal courts. Since these are for-profit companies, they charge the probationer additional fees like drug tests or electronic monitoring that keep them in debt and on probation for as long as possible.
Early on, I was real ambitious. I got into pharmacy school, I got married. June 13, 2007, I was in a car wreck. And it's not something I'm proud of, but I started taking pills. And I got physically addicted to them. And I had to take them just to physically function. And that's when my marriage, I think, started falling apart. I lost my desire to live. And I became homeless. That happened so quick. You know, I didn't know what to do. And I can remember one day, it was raining, it was cold. I had my big bag with me, and I was standing out in the rain. I had nowhere to go. Nowhere to go, and I don't want to forget that. I used to sleep right underneath this bridge, right over here. People would be sleeping. They'd get robbed, beat up. A couple of times they got killed. I haven't been here in a while, but it's not really the easiest to get down here. I used to stay right there. There was an old mattress. Between that and mosquitoes, it was kind of hard to get comfortable. When I was homeless, I'd be so tired, I'd be walking, almost being asleep as I'm walking. I continued to drink and continued to stay depressed and just was losing all hope and finding that it was a lot harder to get out of this pit that I found myself in. I was walking to community service one time and I decided, you know something, I'm getting me a beer. And so I went into this convenience store. I didn't have enough money, so I put one in a bag I was carrying. And I didn't know it, they'd been watching me. And when I got arrested for that, it was 1 year on probation for that. And then I had to come up with these fees. I had no income. I was fully compliant with all the requirements of probation. The only thing I was not able to do was pay the amount of money that Sentinel wanted me to pay. I would go to Sentinel and I would never know each week if I was going to be locked up because of the amount of money I owed. I just got caught in this, what I felt like was a trap.
Sentinel is a private probation company that has been sued over a dozen times for requiring probationers to pay for services not ordered by the court. In Georgia alone, these companies make an estimated $40 million a year from their already poor clients. Sentinel Probation wouldn't return our calls, so we showed up to their offices in Georgia to try to hear their side of the story.
Can't talk to the press. To be hatefully honest, you really can't be on our property either. We have too many problems with the press. All right, thank you.
Well, the private probation companies are making a lot of money, and courts normally use probation officers as their eyes and ears to report to them the facts. But here, when you have a private probation company, they have an incentive not to report the facts because they want to keep somebody paying them fees for being on probation. So they are the winners. Now, who are the losers? The losers are poor people. And if they are poor and get thrown in jail, it's the taxpayer, because we pay the cost of incarcerating someone. It's judicial extortion, and the courts are being utilized by a private for-profit company that is in the business of making a profit. You should not outsource any part of government that can result in someone losing their liberty or freedom.
Private probation companies create an unfair bias against the probationer. This system can trap financially unstable people like Thomas Barrett in a never-ending cycle of payments.
The only way they make money is if somebody's caught up in the system on probation, and the longer they stay on probation, the longer they're in the system, the more money that the Sentinel is going to be able to make off that person. It's not justice. The punishment definitely didn't fit the crime. It's almost like it's one strike or you're out.
I'm on probation through Sentinel. That's where the judge assigned me to go because I didn't have the $200 that day. It's a simple misdemeanor. They threaten you that if you don't show up and have this amount of money, you're going to jail today. It's a constant threat and stress. I feel like they're extorting me. For any and every dime they can get out of me, sucking me dry.
So I'm at Sentinel probation for not being able to afford my traffic ticket. They know that I'm a student and I don't have the funds. They basically told me that it's not their problem, that I would have to just come up with it with some kind of way. So my fines have accumulated. I've already paid $420-something in fines. So now I owe them like $1,000 compared to the $260 that my original fine was. So I don't think it's fair at all.
They don't care about you, they care about the money. I'm sitting in jail basically because I couldn't afford my traffic tickets. Them having this privately owned business set up, it's cost people their lives, their jobs, their homes, their families. It's cost them a lot of things.
In Alabama, the Southern Poverty Law Center, or SPLC, is fighting to stop these practices. A judge in Marion, Alabama, brought a mobile blood truck to the courthouse and told defendants that if they could not pay, they would have to give blood or go to jail.
There's a blood drive outside. If you're not having the money to not want to go to jail, as an option to pay it, you can give blood today. Or the sheriff has enough handcuffs for those who do not have money.
The judge was ultimately censured after the SPLC filed a judicial ethics complaint against him. Samuel Brooke at the SPLC filed lawsuits against the private probation companies in Alabama, effectively ending the practice in the state.
The private probation companies really are operating in what's essentially nothing more than an extortion racket. It literally becomes incredibly expensive to be poor in this country. And that's certainly what we have been seeing and what we're alleging in a lawsuit against this company, against Judicial Correction Services, alleging that this is fundamentally extortion and that this is a racketeering enterprise. The RICO statute, the same statute that we normally think of as going after the mob, is really fundamentally saying you're engaging in extortative activity on a regular, recurring basis. That's exactly what we allege is happening here. Within about 9 months, as municipalities learned about these allegations and what was happening, they parted ways with the company and said they were no longer interested, and they pulled out of the state. Go talk to your city council and hold them accountable for what's happening in your town. It's ultimately those elected officials who are going to put a stop to this, but they're only going to put a stop to it if the members of the community are making their voices heard to say, this isn't what we want our town, our police department, our judge to be doing.
As long as private probation exists in states like Georgia, there will be people like Thomas Barrett doing whatever they can to make their payments.
I started looking around for something I could do for money, but I kept getting locked up, and so I wasn't even able to get any kind of momentum going there, any confidence that I could get a job. The only way I can make money to pay for probation is to sell my plasma. I found out I could sell my plasma. I could do it twice a week, where I could make $200 to $220 a month. I can throw that at the monitor, and then maybe I can get a job and make up the extra money. I go there, and it takes 3 to 4 hours a day. I mean, here I got nothing. All I had was my plasma to get money. Selling plasma is like, wasn't a high point in my life, you know. After giving plasma, feel wiped out, drained. Have to drink a lot of fluids afterwards.
You leave the town.
That's right.
You get to a point where you just don't see any way out.